So let's create a circular background in a donut chart in React Chart.js, and as I click on this, you will see here the background maintains while the dataset disappears. So to create the circular shape in our donut chart, what we need to do is to create a custom plugin. So for that, I'm going to say plugins equals, this is a curly braces and then a bracket, because you can have multiple plugins as an array, and we can call this our background circle. Copy this, and then we have to create our constant here, or else we get an error. So constant equals this, ID will be equal to the background circle, and then we're going to say when would we like to draw this. Since the data needs to be on top and the circle needs to be at the back, we want to draw this before the data sets. So that's what we're doing. And then we're going to have here the chart, the arcs, and the plugin options. So once we have this, what I want to do here is a object destructuring. So I'm going to say a constant ctx equals chart. So once we did this, the next thing what I want to do is start drawing it. I'm going to say a ctx.save to save our default settings that we have now. If I save this, nothing truly happens, but we are allowed now to draw here. And what we need to do is basically we have to create a line here, or a circular shape with the inner part open. So luckily this is quite easy to do with some tiny tricks. So the first thing that we're going to do is just going to create a circle shape that will hit the very top. So let's start to work on that. To do this, we will say here ctx.beginPath. And this here, make sure that all the lines that we're going to draw right now are new, not connected to anything else, because sometimes items bleed over. So this is to avoid that. So once we have this, what I want to do here is we're going to say a ctx.arc. And this arc is basically the circular shape where we need a x value, a y value, and then we need basically the radius. And after that, we need to have here the degree where we start in, which is 0, and then here we have the angle, or the degree, the angle of the degree, and finally we have your counterclockwise. This can be set on false. We don't have to work with this. Only these here are very important for us. So let's break them down one by one. So first of all, we need to have the x and y value. The x and y value must be this exact center, so it knows where we have to rotate, from what point. So from here, this is the center, and then we'll draw a nice circle from that point. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to show you a very useful item. So I'm going to say your console log. This is a built-in chart functionality, or Chartjs functionality. Say chart.get data set meta, and in this case we only have one data set, so index 0. So if I save this, refresh, open up developer tab, you can see we get a lot of information, and the information we need is specifically in the data. Then we break it down because we only have one data point basically. So we have all this information. You can see here x and y, which is the exact circular, or the center point to draw the circle. So x and y is basically this item here. So how to get there? From data index 0 x and data index 0 y. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say a constant x core equals this dot data index 0 dot x. Then of course we do another one for the y coordinates. Say here y, and this will be the y. Once we got that, we can just put this one in here, put that one in there. So once we have this, we know this part. Next part that we need to know is the radius, and the radius is basically this point all the way here up, because we need to know, and then later on we have to figure out the width of that, but that's later on, don't worry about that. So how do you do that, or where do you get the information? Very similar. What we need to know is basically here the outer radius. We have the outer radius, is the very end of the item, and we have here as well the inner radius, that's this point. So you can already guess, to calculate the width from this point to that point, we have the outer radius minus the inner radius would calculate the thickness of this rotation. So we'll do that later on, but we will get the inner radius and the outer radius information already. We're going to put that ready. The constant, I'll just call this our inner radius, equals, and if I'm not mistaken, it is in here, put that in there, and then it should be also in the data. And then from the data index 0, inner radius, and data index 0, outer radius. 0 dot inner radius. Same here for the outer. And there we are. So once we did this, we can grab this outer radius to put the radius in here. And here's the angle for the rotation. If I want a full rotation, I want to have here basically 0 degree and then 360 to make sure that we have a full circle. But of course, this won't work. We need to have the conversion calculation of math.pi. So I'm going to say a constant angle equals math.pi divided by 180 degrees. Why? 1 pi equals a half circle. So if you want to have a full circle, we need to have 2 pi. So this here is basically then a easier way to calculate for us. So if I do this, now we have that, and then I'm going to say here ctx.fill to draw. If I save that, refresh, you can see here now it works. We can still assign a different color to this if you want to. Let's put that in there. That should be nice as well. ctx.fill style equals let's say gray. Save. There you are. Alright. Now, of course, what about the center here? Because we don't want this. So I'm going to use a trick here. Remember we had the width here. What we could do, instead of what we have here with a fill, because the fill would create a full circle, I want to have only a thick line that basically rotates nicely on this. So how do we do that? So I'm going to say here, instead of fill, I'm going to say stroke to make it a line. And I will say here, fill style will be stroke style for the line. Alright, so now I have a gray line here, but this line thickness is so narrow. So we're going to calculate the width. So it's a constant width equals outer, which is the highest value, minus the inner, which is the lowest value. And then we can copy this width and put it in here. Oh, sorry, not in there, no. But what I want to do is here, I say ctx dot line width. That's the command. And I'm going to say here will be equal to width. If I save that, refresh, it works, but not fully, because you see we're slightly out because it moves or jumps up half of the thickness. So what I need to do is I need to deduct the thickness here, or the half of it. So how do we do that? On the outer radius, we're going to say here minus width divided by 2. So we can calculate the half amount, refresh, there we are. So now it works nicely.